On agriculture, food production, outdoor resources will come to order. Jackie, would you please call the roll?
Senators Bean.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Bernstetter. Crawford. Gregory.
Here.
McCreary. Washington. You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. For those here to testify, please speak to the microphone, introduce yourself, address your comments to the committee members. Please keep your comments relevant to the legislation. Once your testimony concludes, committee members will have an opportunity to ask questions. Please complete the witness appearance form at the table and leave it on the table for committee minutes. Please silence your cell phones if you haven't already. We have one bill on the agenda today. We have one bill on the agenda today, House Bill 544 by Representative Diehl. And Representative, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and esteemed members of the Senate. For the record, Diehl, proudly serving Bates, Vernon, and Cedar County, House District 125, here to present House Bill 544 today. House Bill 544 specifically targets the full regulatory process for chemicals in the United States, and it says any product has gone through the full regulatory process defined, implemented by the EPA and through the FIFRA Act, and has been deemed safe, then they've fulfilled their duty to warn. We feel like, as from the industry standpoint, this leads to more sustainability, leads more to investment and continued growth for our farmers and producers. We want to make sure that the companies are doing it here and having access and availability to us, that they are taken care of. This is a world-renowned process. Some of the products that have been talked about through this bill has 50 years of information and loads of scientific data concerning it. So we want to make sure long into the future we have these products available, and we believe in the process. We believe it's the best one in the world. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for the representative? Seeing none. Anybody? Well, how many people are here to testify in favor? How many opposed? All right, we'll start with in favor, and we can alternate in favor and opposed. So first up, in favor, please come forward.
The committee. My name is Dr. Liza Lockwood. I'm the medical affairs lead for the crop science division of Bayer. I'm an emergency medicine physician, a medical toxicologist, and a mom. And I'm here today to answer any questions that you might have about House Bill 544.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. So we'll do next up somebody not in favor. Not in favor. Please come forward. Like I say, we're going to alternate.
Press here. There you go. I'm Jim Karpowitz. I'm representing the Missouri Coalition for the Environment. Missouri Coalition for the Environment is a statewide advocacy, non-for-profit organization that works to empower Missourians to protect their environment and their health. On behalf of MCE, I'm testifying in opposition to House Bill 544 and urge this committee to vote no on this bill. I'm going to leave this written testimony that my colleague, Melissa Vatterott, she's a lot more eloquent than I am, and explains why our organization is against this. But on a personal note, I use this product, and I think that it certainly has a place. I mean, if you got a patch of poison ivy and you got some Roundup, you're taken care of. But in using this product, I understand that there are dangers associated with it. And I think it's perhaps responsible to, if there is no, there is a duty to warn about those potential dangers. So I urge you to vote no on this to allow for people harmed by this product to have their recourse. Thank you.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up, in favor.
My name's Randy Rogers. I'm immediate past chairman of the Missouri Agribusiness Association. I've worked at Service and Supply Cooperative, a ag retail supplier in East Central Missouri. I'm a farmer. I am a dad, and I'm here to testify in favor of this bill. For 50 years, I've been using Roundup, but I'm disappointed a little bit that this is called the Roundup bill. What we really want is clarity in how, as an ag retailer, we need to be, that the rules that are in place on the label are the law. It's true. For 30 years, we've been doing safety training. We've been doing all kinds of training at our location to make sure that we are protecting our employees, our customers, and their family members. We've had drilled into our head that the label is the law, and we follow that, or else we are subject to fines, but we really don't want to put our employees at risk. And so we're in favor of this bill, and that it clarifies that the label is the law, and that we can go on and use it safely every day. I sprayed 2 tanks of Roundup last night to kill some unwanted vegetation, and I continue to use it. I think that but like I said, we really just want clarity in the way that we use and train our employees to use chemicals safely. Any questions?
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. Next up, not in favor.
Good morning. My name is Matt Clement. I'm an attorney in Jefferson City, and I'm testifying in opposition to the bill. I've testified before this committee numerous times, and I don't intend to repeat all of my testimony. I think you've all heard it. But I learned a lot about this process when I represented 3 folks who got cancer from Roundup and had a trial in Cole County in the fall of 2023. And I can tell you that the last time the EPA reviewed this product, and their determination was not vacated by the EPA, by the courts, was in the 1990s. So I think this bill is a bit dangerous if you're just going to rely on the EPA. I would also point out that the evidence showed that Monsanto has not done a independent study on this product since 1991. And the documents show that they don't do that because they're afraid of what those studies might say. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the propaganda that is out there about this bill. I've seen a recent one that implies that Roundup affects the price of eggs. I don't know how Roundup affects the price of eggs, but all of these talking points that you've heard and all the advertisements and the propaganda that Bayer is putting out there has been developed by public relations firms. They spent millions and millions of dollars doing that. I could prove that to you, but they won't let me show you the documents because they filed them under seal. We've asked the Cole County Circuit Court to unseal those documents, and that's pending in front of him now, the judge now. He hasn't ruled yet. But another piece of propaganda I want to talk about is this idea that these cases rely on a single study that has so-called been discredited, or that they rely on junk science, and that's just not true. I think what they're referring to, that the study that's been discredited is this International Agency on the Research of Cancer determination in 2015. I'm not aware of anybody who's discredited that finding. It remains true today. Monsanto touts this agricultural health study that was done in 2018. What they don't tell you is that many of those authors continued to study this product. In 2023, a person named Dr. Andriotti, one of the authors of that 2018 study, and numerous other authors in that study, concluded, and I'm just going to read it to you because I think it's important. Our study contributes to accumulating evidence supporting the role of glyphosate in oxidative stress and provides insights into potential mechanisms underlying previously observed associations with hematopoietic cancers, that's a fancy word for blood cancers, like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and leukemia. Another study concluded, our earlier indication of an association between glyphosate and NHL has been considerably strengthened. At the trial in 2023, Monsanto's own chief scientist, Dr. Donna Farmer, testified and conceded that the majority of independent peer-reviewed studies show glyphosate and Roundup cause DNA damage. DNA damage is what causes blood cancer. When it happens over and over and over again, your body can't repair those cells, and it causes blood cancer. Monsanto did not bring one single epidemiologist to testify. Epidemiology is the study of what causes disease. If it's so safe and it's been approved all over the world, why wouldn't they bring one? Just one person. They didn't do it. So the notion that there's no science behind these cases is just flat wrong. It's just wrong. And finally, I want to talk about this idea that what Monsanto says and what their lobbyists say is that this will not prevent lawsuits in the future. What they're really trying to do with this bill is obtain federal preemption. Federal preemption is a legal principle that says if the federal law controls, you can't bring a state law claim. They've been trying to do this through the courts for years and years with little success, so they've come to you. But they've taken the position that in the appeal of the case that was tried in 2023, they've taken the position in the Court of Appeals. They've said, we think federal law preempts state law, and that prevents all of our claims, all the claims, not just failure to warn, all of them. The former CEO of Bayer told investors that if they can achieve federal preemption, I'm going to read his testimony, federal preemption would effectively end potential future litigation. So they're telling their investors, and they're telling the courts one thing, and they're telling you all a different thing. So I would urge you to please vote no on this bill. Don't treat Missouri citizens different than citizens around the country. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Senator McCreary.
Thank you for being here this morning. You mentioned propaganda. Several of my Republican Senate colleagues have been, I think, unfairly targeted with mailings into their district. In South County, which is an area that I represent, mail is going to what I would consider regular people. They're not targeting me or the other senator that represents South County, but they're implying that this bill is about fentanyl and COVID-19. It says fentanyl and COVID-19, manufactured tragedies produced in Chinese labs. Stop China's lab disasters from hurting Missouri farmers. I mean, even in, I didn't hear the bill sponsor say one thing about fentanyl or COVID-19, but yet that's what's being mailed to our constituents. Trial lawyers undermine Missouri agriculture and embolden America's enemies. They're trying to tie fentanyl and COVID to this bill, and that's going to my constituents. Is there anything in this bill that has to do with fentanyl or COVID-19?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Senator Bernskader.
So I've been using chemicals for approximately 40 years, and I've always been told the label is the law. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in this particular situation, with respect to what the EPA has done, they only review this product very infrequently. And the evidence showed at the trial that the EPA was heavily influenced by Monsanto. And so I don't think that it's proper to say the label is the law when it's reviewed so infrequently. And Monsanto has such a big role in the product in this example. And if there is evidence and proof that they've known about this and failed to warn and failed to properly tell the EPA about all the different studies out there, then I think a state law claim should be viable. That's the only other way to hold companies accountable for not telling the truth.
And then also the comment you made about federal law, how did you put that? Federal law trumps state law?
Yeah, there's a legal principle called federal preemption, and there's certain parameters for when courts will say, well, a federal law preempts a state law. Most of the courts have said in this situation, FIFRA does not preempt state law claims.
I'll say, because we have always been told that federal law trumps state law.
Not in every situation. And in this situation, FIFRA, the vast majority of the courts have said, no, it does not preempt state law claims. They're still available. And that's what this bill is trying to do, is to take that away.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Actually, I have a question. So when you made this lawsuit, did you specifically name Monsanto?
Yes.
Why would you not name all the manufacturers of glyphosate? How could you point the finger directly at Monsanto?
Because the 3 people who brought the lawsuit used the Monsanto product. They didn't use other people's products.
And you know for a fact
Yeah,
that was
that's
the
what they-
active ingredient was made specifically by Monsanto, not any other company.
They used the Roundup product. It was a Monsanto bottle.
Okay. Do you have issues with the EPA being the regulating authority here?
I'm not sure I understand your question. The federal law says the EPA is the regulating authority here.
You just made a comment about the EPA being, having concerns, and I'm just curious
Yeah.
what your concerns were in their process when they go through. I mean, to register a chemical takes years of, and I'm just curious, do you have an issue with that?
Oh, I think I understand your question now. I'm sorry. I think I have issues with how the EPA goes about it. I don't think they go about it properly in some situations, and the evidence in this particular case was that they were heavily influenced. In fact, the head of the EPA was communicating directly with Monsanto, saying, if I can kill this study, a particular study they're talking about, if I can kill this, I should get a medal. I don't think that's an independent review.
Okay. Any further questions? Senator Gregory?
I think you and I talked a little bit back and forth last time in the hearing, and I was going over some labels, and the one piece of information I couldn't find, I don't know why I didn't think to search for it. When did Monsanto's patent expire on Roundup? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I don't, but it's been a few years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was 2000 is what I found this morning and what I found before.
2000?
Yeah, the year 2000. That's what it said. Following its 1970 introduction, Monsanto's last commercially relevant United States patent on the herbicide glyphosate expired in 2000. Any nodding heads? That sound about right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So when that patent expired, as we all know, other companies can start manufacturing, correct?
I believe that's true.
Okay. We talked about labels a little bit last time we were in here. And I think the label I initially kind of read off was talking about PPEs and what to wear and what not to wear. So I've looked up, I've got the label for Roundup Power Max, as we all know, manufactured by Bayer. I've got a label for Touchdown, manufactured by Syngenta, owned by Kim China now, and Tenco's, who makes Buccaneer. I've used all 3 products before, okay? The Bayer label is the only one that talks about wearing chemical-resistant gloves, along with long-sleeve shirts, pants, the whole 9 yards. Touchdown, when it talks about personal protective equipment, long-sleeve shirt, long pants, socks, and shoes. Nothing about gloves. Has anyone, to your knowledge, that's ever used a Touchdown product? Glyphosate, 52%. Do the Syngenta users not have an issue?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I've not represented anybody who used that Syngenta product, but I'm guessing the answer is sure, they may have issues.
All right. Buccaneer 5 Extra, manufactured Tenco's. I'm not sure their parent company or anything, but I've used some of that before. Applicators and other handlers must wear a long sleeve shirt, long pants, shoes, plus socks. I mean, I wear socks when I got boots on. Guys, bare feet and boots, that's weird, number one, for a little levity in the situation. But that label says nothing about wearing, because that was something that you picked up on. Well, see, they even knew as wrong as they didn't have gloves on the label. I mean, to my knowledge, these are the current labels for those other 2 products. And that was has anyone ever gone after Tenco's?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because I know a lot of other producers that have used both of these products. Do you like bacon cheeseburgers by chance?
I love them.
Okay, so when I look up cancer-causing things, pickled, salted, and smoked foods. So you got pickles on there. I'm assuming you like pickles. I mean, I do. Some people don't. I know it's an acquired taste.
Not
for
a big
some.
fan of those personally, but I understand what you're saying.
So you get rid of
you.
you might get rid of one of 4. Pickled, salted, and smoked foods cause cancer. Grilled red meat, so you've got a grilled burger unless you baked it, but I've never baked a cheeseburger before. Refined flours or white flour, so your bun is probably going to knock you there. Some dairy products I've seen potentially also. And then if you finish the night off with microwave popcorn, which also says may lead to diseases including cancer. That's where I am at such a loss on this, and we asked it before, the question before, of why is it just Bayer Monsanto? When for 25 years now, there's been other products on the market, and the answer that was given the last time in this committee was, well, they've got the biggest market share.
I think that's true. I mean, I think when you look at the market share, it's not even close.
But I then asked the question again the last time we had this committee. If I was a Buccaneer user, like I bought 250 gallons of that, I bought a tote every year, remember? And then I needed another 25 gallons to finish up. Crap, I forgot about this field, and I need another 25 gallons. And I went and bought the Bayer product. And then I come down with it. I said, I want to sue. At that time, then that means that I can bring a lawsuit against Bayer?
You probably could bring a lawsuit. I think it'd be hard for you to win it because you have to prove that the product, that Monsanto's product, if you bring a case against Monsanto, you have to prove that that product caused or contributed to cause your cancer.
I guess my question for you then, if you had someone that came to you like that, would you then say, well, let's go after 10 Co's or Syngenta?
I'd look at all the facts of the case, and maybe, but I want to make sure I could prove that.
Then that's where my biggest hang-up is. How come that has never happened? Because I know that there are some farmers and other agricultural people out there that is the product they use, because you've got some chemical retailers that are Syngenta primary. Like that's what they do, that's what they sell, that's who their wholesaler is paired up with, is Syngenta. And that is my biggest hang-up. You've never heard of it against these other retailers.
Well, I'd be happy to do a little research and find out if there has been cases like that. But the cases I've looked at, we're very careful about the cases that we file. We're not just filing these cases because somebody sprayed their cracks of their driveway. We want to be able to make sure we can prove what we've alleged. And so I'd be happy to look at whether or not those cases have been brought against those companies. If your hypothetical was brought to me, I'd have trouble with that because I couldn't prove which caused the cancer. So I'd have trouble as a lawyer with that. I'm not saying there's not other lawyers that would file the case. I'm just telling you what I would do.
And I'm empathetic with victims. I've had someone since this has started coming up that said, I think this might have been what caused mine, right? And so I've tried to approach it a little bit differently. But do you ever with some of these victims, have you ever asked history?
Absolutely. And you know what?
And found out, it's a well-known fact in this building, I love my bacon. I go downstairs and do you want your usual 7 or 8 pieces? And I'm like, yep, that's fine. That's what I want. Then nitrates potentially cause. Do we ask a whole host of other questions, or do we just point to, well, I've used it for a little while. I was told by Bayer Monsanto that they have pulled their premixed glyphosate spray bottles off the store shelves because of landscape, lawn and gardener people. Well, that's what they use it, and that was the basis for some of the lawsuits. And I was actually in a discussion with some folks here recently. I said, well, Bayer has quit selling that on the shelves, and they're like, no, they haven't. Well, you see,
they haven't. I just bought some at the Tractor Supply store last week. I had some delivered to my house.
I would encourage you to look at the active ingredient.
I did, and I've got pictures of it. I'll send you. I've got some delivered to my house from Amazon with 48% glyphosate 4 days ago.
Manufactured by Bayer.
Manufactured by Bayer in 2024.
When I went to my local Tractor Supply and I looked at their entire wall of premixed Roundup, I was going, oh crap, these people were right, But then I looked at the label, and the label was whatever the scientific name is for dicamba.
Mm-hmm.
There was no glyphosate in it.
I'll be happy to email you pictures of the receipt and the bottle, and with the dates on them if you'd like to see them.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
I'll email those to you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up, in favor of.
All right, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Ben Travelis with the Missouri Soybean Association, here to go on record in support of this legislation. Recently, as we've been heading into planting season, I've been getting a lot of Snapchats from buddies as tractors are starting to roll. I know especially in the chairman's neck of the woods, and as you go further north throughout the state, I've been talking with friends that are getting the planters ready, and it's an exciting time as we head into a new planting season, and it's always fun to start afresh. But I will also say that with that excitement, there's a lot of nervousness out there right now with our farmers, and it's because of topics like this. And having access to vital tools that have been proven safe time and again over the course of many, many years. And quite honestly, the prolific litigation that has been occurring is threatening access to vital tools like this. And so with that, I would just put that before the committee and say that, again, it's an exciting time of year right now as farmers are starting to get into the planting field, but they're also really nervous right now because they are afraid of losing access to vital tools like this. And so with that, I would implore the committee to please support this legislation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. Next up in opposition.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Gretchen Waddell Barwick, and I'm with the Missouri Sierra Club, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of our 11,000 members and more than 30,000 supporters across the state of Missouri. I'm here to speak in opposition to this bill. On a personal note, my father's had 4 different types of cancer. There is a provision in this House bill that specifically states that cancer is exempted from these duty to warn. That is a slap in the face to people like my father who have suffered and survived. And it is a slap in the face to people who have suffered and lost others. That's terrible, and we should not be doing that to Missourians. Those who would bring claims against agricultural manufacturers have been farmers, people who are working in landscaping, and those that are exposed to chemicals and later diagnosed with diseases. There have been several cases against Bayer involving glyphosate, and people have received huge settlements because they were able to prove the connection between their cancer and this product. The overwhelming majority of successful cases fall under failure to warn claims. This is a tool of our legal system that provides access to citizens who are harmed by a product. And while Bayer may feel overwhelmed by the number of lawsuits they have settled and are still in, this is the cost of doing business when you manufacture a product that is inherently harmful and you fail to provide adequate warning to users so they can make informed decisions about how to use your product. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the EPA process here. The Sierra Club strongly supports regulatory processes. I think the EPA is a great organization, but I also recognize that the EPA can be very politically motivated and that human beings are in charge and human beings are fallible. We saw from the Monsanto papers that there was significant political influence in the approval of these specific products and their warning labels. That does not mean that a product is safe. New information is routinely coming out about these chemicals. And we have seen that these companies have a history, a long-standing history of hiding information about their dangerous chemicals, including glyphosate and dicamba, and lobbying EPA and legislators to approve this product. In 2022, the Federal Appeals Court ruled that the EPA's finding that glyphosate has no link to cancer violated its own cancer guidelines and was, quote, not supported by substantial evidence. There is a multitude of independent research, including studies from the World Health Organization's IARC and the University of Washington, that reject the EPA's claim and prove the harmful effects of glyphosate. When Bayer bought Monsanto, they knew the risks these lawsuits would bring. This was a calculated decision in the sale of Monsanto and the buying. And instead of trying to make the product safer or educate users or come up with different products to support the hardworking Americans that are trying to feed America, Bayer is trying to make their shameful behavior legal, and this is completely unacceptable. I hope that you vote no on this bill. I hope that you stand up for Missourians. And I ask you to do the responsible thing. Thank you.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up, in favor of.
Mr. Chairman, Shannon Cooper today representing the Missouri Cattlemen's Association, just go on record in support of the legislation. Similar to the Senate bill, our support is the same. I would like to let Senator Gregory know that in the ancient bylaws of the Missouri Cattlemen's Association, you had to sign a pledge that you would never wear boots without socks. So you're not weird. Be happy to answer any questions you might have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that very
that-
intriguing testimony. Any questions for this witness?
Does that mean my membership's revoked?
Don't let me catch you running around in boots and no socks.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. Next up, not in favor. Not in favor. Anyone here else in favor of? Please come forward.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jacob Knabel with the Missouri Corn Growers Association. We also would like to go on the record in support of House Bill 544. For decades, products such as glyphosate have enabled American farmers to compete on a global scale, producing more bushels on less and less acreage. MCGA feels that as growers are making decisions on what practices to implement on their farms, that they require long-term certainty that crop protection tools such as glyphosate will be available for the long term. And with that, be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. I'll ask one more time, anybody here else not in favor? Seeing none, I'll just ask for those in favor. Please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Brent Hempill, I just want to go on record in support for the Missouri Pork Association.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. Next up, in favor of.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mark Figgenbaum with Missouri Farm Bureau testifying in favor of HB544. These products are essential to food production and agriculture for our producers, and we believe that the process set by the EPA is thorough, rigorous, and sufficient in informing consumers and the products that they're buying. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. Next up, in favor of.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Luke Reed. I'm with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry, here to support House Bill 544. We believe that consistency in requirements is key to businesses to operate efficiently. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. Next up, in favor of, please come forward.
Good morning, Matthew Smith with Associated Industries of Missouri. I want to go on record of support of this bill because it provides clarity and stability for labeling requirements for essential industries across Missouri. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for testimony. Next up, in favor of. In favor of. Seeing none, anybody here for informational purposes only? Seeing none, Representative, you have any final comments?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity. Enjoyed the discussion. I do have some more information that we can talk about offline if anybody has any more questions. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 544. I will now make a motion. We go into executive session. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. No. Motion carries. We are in executive session. I now make a motion to take up House Bill 544, which we just heard. Do I have a second? Have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. No. Motion carries. House Bill 544 is before the committee. I now make a motion to vote House Bill 544 out of committee. Do pass. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Jackie, would you please call the roll?
Senators Bean,
Aye.
Berger, Bernsketter, Crawford, Gregory, McCreary, Washington. 5-2.
By your vote of 5-2, House Bill 44 is voted out of committee. Do pass. I now would make a motion we leave executive session. Do I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye. We are out of executive session. Or those opposed, no. We are out of executive session. No further business coming before the committee. I now make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.